The Leela song was not sung. No wedding dress was worn. In her unpretentious life, she secretly left in the guise of a bride. Only one bullet was enough to end all her dreams. There was no painful melody. Even the frozen body hanging on the barbed wire was not fortunate enough for mourning. In the thick fog, wrapped with the silence of an entire nation, the body hung over the thorns of the border for 4.5 hours. Yes, I'm talking about Felani. The Felani who was not only shot dead by BSF, but her lifeless body was hung over the barbed wire fence for 4.5 hours. Poriborton's correspondents Pritam Shah Shudip and Khan Muhammad Mursaleen visited this village 10 years after the killing of Felani. Felani's parents and relatives still live with the pain of her death. These correspondents have brought back stories that were never heard before. When BSF's men fired the bullet and pierced her chest, it was not only Felani's life that was lost, but the course of life of the two families had changed forever. The incident started in 2000. Felani came home with her mother, Jahanara Begum, and her grandmother, Hajera Bibi from Assam, India, for the first time to visit the house of her elder aunt, Anjina Begum, in Bangladesh. The usual chat of girls and boys was going on in the backyard. Just then, Aunt Anjina offered to make Felani the bride of her home, and Felani's grandmother agreed to this. From then on, the dreams had started to be woven. The protagonist of the story, Amjad Hossain, who is still in grief over Felani's death, was telling the reporters of Poriborton.com about those days. I will tell you more about Amjad Hossain later.
I was young then. She was also young. I had a grandmother and a mother. They said they would marry us. It would be a marriage within the family. I also liked Felani since I was a child. The two families talked and decided to get us married to each other. We agreed too.
Amjad got to see Felani, with whom he had dreamt and wanted to build a small home of happiness. That was the only time he saw her. Even though the memory is vague, he still finds her presence there.
He was saying, when they came to our house for a visit, then I saw her for the first time. I think I was 7 or 8 years old then. I had my grandmother and my mother, and they were the ones who brought up the subject of our marriage first. After they left that time, I hadn't seen Felani since then. Felani's father sometimes came to Bangladesh and said that he would bring Felani when she grew up.
Felani, the small Felani, whom he had seen at the age of 3, he was 7 then. He still looks for her spirit when those memories appear in his mind.
I was young then. I didn't understand much about such things. Felani's father came from India when it was time for the marriage formalities. He told me that I had his permission to marry his daughter. Then he talked to my mother. I was in Dhaka then. After talking, he said that we were to get married on a such and such date. I said okay then. I applied for office leave from Mirpur. I would come during the marriage ceremony. After Felani left Bangladesh, neither had I seen her, nor had I talked to her. I just knew in my heart that we would get married. When I was young, I could not really understand these feelings, but when I was growing up, I started to have a different kind of emotion.
Felani and Amjad were supposed to get married on January 10th, 2011. Her father, Nur Islam, left India for Bangladesh with his daughter, Felani, for the wedding ceremony. But Amjad was not fortunate enough to see Felani as a bride. Instead, he got the news of the death of his wife on the 7th.
As soon as they left India, I got to know that they were coming, Amjad said, shaking off the horrific memory. Then I came to know about the incident in Dhaka around 4:30 in the morning. I was sleeping. Then one of my aunts called and said that this is the case. You won't be coming anymore. I said, why? What happened? She said that Felani is no more. but she was not telling me anything properly. But in my mind, it is as if my heart is biting and throbbing. I knew something had happened. But what? Later, I called my mother at home. Find out what has happened, Ma.
Amjad Hossein's house is in Char Kulaghat village of Kulaghat Union in Lalmonirhat district. For a long time, Amjad was saddened by the pain of not getting Felani and said that he would never marry again. Later, at the suggestion of the then Home Minister Sahara Khatun, the two families found an opportunity to unite again. At present, Felani's younger sister, Malika Khatun, is leading her life as Amjad's wife.
I was not at home when Appa came. She lamented. I went to visit a friend's house. My result came out at that time, so after getting the result, I went to visit my friend. In the meanwhile, Appa came back. Everything happened so suddenly.
Felani was murdered 10 years ago today. Life goes on at a normal pace. Amjad Malika's house is lit by a beautiful baby daughter, but still, the memory of Felani haunts them.
My older sister was like my mother, she said, recalling her older sister. Because my mother did not live at home, as she worked at people's houses, she used to take care of us then. We used to go to school, then she would make us tiffin, wash our clothes, and do everything for us. We were 5 brothers and sisters back then, 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Then we had another sister.
The whole world was stunned to see the Felani's body hanging on the barbed fences of the border between the two countries. In between, a lot of water has flowed through the Ganges Jamuna. 10 years have passed one by one. Even today, it seems that the accounts of Felani's father, Nur Islam, do not add up. On one hand, the regret of not getting justice. On the other, throwing the girl on the BSF's gunpoint is still chasing him. On the night of the incident, Nur had to leave his daughter alive on the ladder and escape with his own life. But later, he saw his daughter's body hanging on the barbed wire in a newspaper photo. Even today, Nur is looking for the answer to that question. I left my daughter alive on the ladder, so how did her body get hung on the barbed wire? In an exclusive interview on the eve of the 10th anniversary of Felani's assassination, her father, Nur Islam, recalled the tragedy of that horrible night.
I was in Alipur, India then. He said I used to run a shop, that is where Felani was born. At that time, I decided to leave everything at Alipur and come to Bangladesh and find work. At that time, Felani was a little child. I used to be a shopkeeper at shops which sold various things like groceries or raw materials for cooking. I was always doing such things for a living. Anyway, after leaving India, I built a house here. I brought 25 to 30,000 Dhaka with me, but I could not do much in Bangladesh. The children were quite young, so it was expensive to look after them. That is why I left again. I worked and earned there, and then the children grew up. Felani's elder aunt proposed marriage to Felani with her son. When Felani was young, I took her for a visit to her aunt's house. Then she made this offer. We accepted the offer and came back to India. It was said that when Felani was older, they would take her home. There was communication on the phone in the meantime. Since that visit to her aunt's place, Felani did not go to Bangladesh after that. After fixing the date of the wedding, I bought clothes for Felani. I told her mother to come with us, but she said, "No, there are small children here. You go with her and complete the marriage rituals." We made her a few jewelries and got her new clothes and were coming with those. The marriage was supposed to take place on January 10, 2011. We were in Assam then. I left on January 6 at 9 or 10 in the morning. My Felani's face was beautiful. She was growing up so fast. She was very beautiful and smart for her age. We took a bus from Assam to Chaudhuri Hut. That's when we got mixed up with a broker. Whenever they see new faces, the brokers will try to make you an offer. They asked us a lot of things. They said that, "So you are going to Bangladesh, we live nearby, but it will take 3,000 rupees to cross." After negotiating and making a deal, we went to their house. After going there, we stayed there till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. When it was 11 o'clock, he took us to another house. After we reached there, Felony slept in a room. I stayed outside. They were coming and going and whatnot. We don't know because we are strangers, so when it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they woke Felony from her sleep and made her climb the ladder on the fence border. I got up by holding the girl's hand, bag of clothes in one hand, girl's wedding dress and all. The girl climbed the ladder. There were 8 or 9 brokers there. So after being picked up, they thought that the BSF at the front fired. In front of me, we were both up the ladder. The brokers were down. Felony hit 2 steps and the BSF fired. So when Felony screamed, saying Baba, I had this wrenching feeling in my heart. The BSF continued to shoot in this direction. What I did then was I jumped and grabbed the wire fence. Holding onto the wire, I later fell on the other side of the border. I mean on this side. I had gone on the side of Bangladesh. My hands and feet were covered in blood, so the clothes were all scattered. I picked them up in the bag as much as I could. Later I saw my girl standing on the ladder. I just saw the BSFs on duty, running up and the ladder, going up to where Felony is.
It was as if the angel of death itself had descended on its mighty wings. Or how is it possible for someone to dive into such a timeless journey? It is as knowing in advance the infallible destiny. Or how is it possible to prepare for the eternal journey? Many signs had surfaced before the killing. The intense regret of not being able to understand the signal, even after many small hints had surfaced, for the daughter she had given birth to, often haunts her even today. I am talking about Jahanara Begum, the mother of Felani.
I did not understand that Allah was sending the Holy Azrael for her. I did not realize this. My daughter comforted me with many things, but I did not comprehend these were only frail, soothing words. When Felani was young, we decided to marry her to my sister's son. She was supposed to get married when they grew up. Now, my girl wasn't the kind who would tell me like today's girl when she wanted to get married, you know? My daughter never said those things in her life. So Felani's father came from Bangladesh and said that your sister is asking for Felani's wedding now. So I said, do we have to marry her right now just because they want us to? Isn't it India? We're Bangladeshis.
Jahanara spoke continuously, as if the darkness had not yet subsided. It was as if it was yesterday's incident.
I told her, you go, I will visit after 2 months. She told me, you don't have to come after 2 months. I will take you there after a month and a half. You will see my photos hanging on the newspaper when I get there. This is what my Felani said to me. I called her when she reached the station. She had told our neighbors that she hadn't served me food. She said I would get attached to her and wouldn't let her go. I called her and told her to come back. Her transport was delayed. She replied, no mother, it is time to go.
How do I describe this story of separation? This anonymous love story may even defeat the stories of Laili Majnu and Shiri Farhad. But as we know in the political turmoil of the two countries, this story may remain as vague as fog in the pages of history.